So if you're a person who has been blind from birth, you sort of know what people anticipate saying about you. I've been that way. I've heard all the people talk about the disadvantages of not being able to see as clearly as other people. Oh, they say you can't really see how beautiful the flowers are, how the sun sets, all the details of life that they sort of assume. They see all the limitations to that. They think that I'm just sort of dependent upon everything and I can't do anything for myself. I just notice that I can't see. The can'tness is so much a part of it. There's a great deal of pity about it. And I admit there is a lot of can'tness to being blind or not being able to see. There are things that I have to just kind of find my way around. But what they don't realize is that there are some things that you discover when you can't see that really become an advantage for you. For example, I am way more able to take advantage of other people helping me out. I don't mind if somebody grabs my arm and walks me down the street. I don't mind if people come and help me out. I don't even mind being a beggar on the street and being dependent on the mercy and grace of others. And the other thing you get when you're a man born blind, you get other senses that are really in tune. You can hear really well what's going on around you because that becomes a primary thing. So you can hear the crowds and you can see where people are, hear where people are. And you also become much sharper internally. You intuit things a whole lot better. You kind of get a handle on it. So being a man born blind is not something that I would recommend. It's not something that is all that fun. There's all kinds of limits, but there's also advantages. So on one particular day, I was sitting in my usual spot. All of us beggars have our usual spot. We all know where to go. People walk by us and they provide resources. We don't mess around with that because that's one of the things you don't like. We don't like change. So I hear this commotion coming into the city, down the street, and they're yelling about Jesus. Well, we'd all heard about Jesus. He was some famous guy who could do amazing things. We all knew about Jesus. So Jesus is passing by. We hear him talking, and then all of a sudden, one of the disciples says something. He says what so many people say. So many people say, who messed up that this guy got it? Hey, what's that all about? Why do you think my not being able to see, my being born blind, has something to do with something someone else did? I didn't do anything wrong. I wasn't even born when I was born blind. But that's kind of the attitude. Must have screwed up somewhere that we got him now. But Jesus, he starts talking about the glory of God and how this isn't just because I'm blind and I didn't sin and all the rest of it, but God has got something greater in mind. And before I know it, I kind of hear him rustling over to me, and I hear somebody spitting, and I thought maybe he was spitting on me, but he was spitting in the mud on the ground, and I'm kind of getting a sense, and next thing I know, I got this plop of stuff in my face. I was ready to wipe it off, and Jesus said, no. Go to the pool of Siloam, just over here. Now, we all know the pool of Siloam is a great healing place. Lots of positive things happen there. People go there and are cured. And so off I went to the pool of Siloam, got this sludge on my face. And it's dark anyway, so somebody leads me, one of my friends, takes me over to the pool. I go in the pool, I do what he says, I wash my face. And all of a sudden there's light. The mud's gone, and the eyes. Wow, that's what it looks like. Oh, the buildings, the streets, the community, other people. Ooh, maybe I'll close it. No, this is really cool. That's how we're all done. But then the fun began, friends. Boy, it did get really crazy. First, there were the people who lived all around me, who saw me every day. They started asking questions like, you sure that's him? I don't think it's him. Maybe it's him. Well, it looks like him. No, he's got his eyes open. Can't be him. And they look finally, and I say, yep, it's me. What happened, they say. What happened? Well, I say, this guy came along, put stuff on my eyes. He told me to wash. Jesus did that. Well, then, they had to get in because Jesus had apparently broken a key rule to putting mud on blind people's eyes. He had done it on the wrong day. So they trooped me in front of the high, powerful officials, and they had this whole discussion about whether you could do it or couldn't do it, could do it or couldn't do it. And I kept saying, he did this, it's what happened. Well, and they dragged my parents in, they got my parents to come, and the parents said, yep, that's our kid. We don't know what happened, but he's our kid. And finally they asked me again, and by this point, that insight in me, that insight in my senses breaks forth. And as they keep asking, I start to realize that this Jesus isn't just some guy, isn't just some prophet, but he has to be God sent. He has to be significant. He has to be holy. He has to be different. And that's what I say to them. He was sent by God. Well, they didn't want to hear that. Boom, out I go. Go on. I thought, well, when I was blind, they didn't bother me. But now that I can see, I'm really in trouble. And all of a sudden, Jesus comes again. Now, I didn't see Jesus before, but I knew it's Jesus because he starts talking to me and he tells me these things, and he says something about being the Son of God. And then I know for sure that I now see Jesus as the one to whom I am committed. He is the one upon whom I depend for my life. I'm willing to do that. Because Jesus enables me to see who he really is. When God opens your eyes, when God lets you see and visualize the world around you, then you can see God at work in all kinds of ways that you had not imagined before. And the human blindness which covers all of us, the human blindness which prevents us from seeing God at work in the world, is taken away. We see with the eyes of faith. To recognize God's hand at work in all manner of things, in all manner of ways. God opened my eyes. But more than that, God allowed me to see Jesus the Christ, who has come into the world to redeem people that others didn't notice, people like me who have nothing to offer. But by the love of God, discover that they are who God said they are, beloved children of God, whether they were blind from birth or sighted from birth, whether they were healed by Jesus or enabled to see in another way. Trust one who was born blind, but now sees. Thanks be to God.